We never had any children of our own, just the White Prince, and I can tell you he was enough of a family for anyone. He roamed free in the park just as we planned he would, and chased the deer and the rabbits whenever he felt like it. But he never did learn how to kill for himself. You can't teach old lions new tricks. He lived well, on venison mostly, and slept on the sofa on the landing. I wouldn't have him inside the bedroom, no matter how often Bertie asked. You had to draw the line somewhere. Bertie's leg never recovered completely, and when it was bad, he often needed a stick, or me, or the lion to lean on. It pained him a lot, especially when the weather was cold and damp, and he never slept well. On Sundays, the three of us would wander the park together, and he would sit on top of Wood Hill with his arm around his old friend's neck, and I would fly kites. As you know, I've always loved kites, and so it turned out did the lion, who pounced on several of them as they landed, savaged them and ripped them to pieces. The lion never showed any interest in escaping, and even if he wanted to, the park wall was too high for an old lion to jump. Whenever Bertie went, he wanted to go too, and if Bertie went out in the car, he'd sit by me near the stove in the kitchen and watch me with those great amber eyes, listening all the while for the sound of Bertie's car coming up the gravel to the front of the house. The old lion lived to a ripe old age, but he became stiff in his legs and could see very little towards the end. He spent his last days stretched out to sleep at Bertie's feet, right where you're sitting now. And when he died, we buried him at the bottom of the hill out there. Bertie wanted it that way, so we could always see the spot from the kitchen window. I suggested we plant a tree in case he forgot where he was. "I'll never forget," he said fiercely. "Never. And besides, he deserves a lot more than a tree." Bertie grieved on for weeks, months after the lion died, and there was nothing I could do to cheer him up or even console him. He would sit for hours in his room or go off on long walks all on his own. He seemed to shut away inside of himself, so distant, and try as I might, I couldn't reach him. Then one day I was in the kitchen here when I saw him hurrying down the hill, waving his stick and shouting for me. "I've got it," he cried as he came in. "I've got it at last." He showed me the end of his stick. It was white. "See that, Millie? Chalk. It's chalk underneath." "So?" I said. "Well, you know the famous white horse on the hillside at Uffington? The one they carved out of chalk 1,000 years ago. That horse never died, did it? It's still alive, isn't it? Well, that's what we're going to do, so he's never forgotten. We'll carve the White Prince out on the hillside. He'll be there forever, and he'll be white forever too." "Well, it'll take a bit of time, won't it?" I said. "We've got plenty of time, haven't we?" he replied, with the same smile he'd had smiled at me when he was a 10-year-old boy, asking if he could come back and mend my kite for me. It took the next 20 years to do it. Every spare hour we had, we were up there scraping away with spades and trowels, and we had buckets and wheelbarrows to carry away the turf and the earth. It was hard, back-breaking work, but it was a labour of love. We did it, Bertie and I. We did it together. Paws, claws, tail, mane, until he was whole and perfect in every detail. It was just after we finished that the butterflies first came. We noticed that when the sun comes out after the rain in the summer, the butterflies, Adonis blues they are, I looked them up, they come out to drink on the chalk face. Then the White Prince becomes a butterfly lion and breathes again like a living creature. So now you know how Bertie's white lion became the White Prince, and how the White Prince became our butterfly lion. The old lady turned to me and smiled. "There," she said, "that's my story." "And what about Bertie?" I knew as I asked I shouldn't have, but I had to know. "He's dead, dear," the old lady replied. "It happens when you get old. It's nothing to worry about. It's lonely though, that's why I've got Jack. And Bertie, like his lion, lived on to a good old age. He's buried out there under the hill beside the White Prince." She looked back at the hill for a moment, and that's where I belong to. She tapped the table with her fingers. "Come on, time to go back to school with you before they miss you and you get yourself in trouble. We wouldn't want that, would we?" She laughed. "Do you know, that's just what I told Bertie all those years ago when he ran away from school, you remember?" She was on her feet now. "Come on, I'll drive you. And don't look so worried. I'll make sure no one sees you, so it'll be like you've never been gone." "Can I come again?" I asked. "Of course you can," she said. "I may not always be easy to find, but I'll be here. I'll just tidy away the tea things and then we'll go, shall we?" It was a very old-fashioned car, black and upright, dignified, with a leathery smell and a whiny engine. She dropped me at the bottom of the school park by the fence. "Take care, dear," she said, "and be sure to come again soon, won't you? I'll be expecting you." "I will," I replied. I climbed the fence before I turned to wave, but by that time the car had gone. To my huge relief, no one had missed me, and best of all, Basher Beaumont was in the sick room. He'd gone down with the measles. I just hoped his measles would last a very, very long time. All through supper I could think of nothing but Bertie Andrews and his white lion. Stew and dumplings, and then semolina pudding with raspberry jam. Again. It was as I was picking my way through the slimy semolina that I remembered Bertie Andrews had been at this school. Maybe, I thought, maybe he'd had to sit here and eat slimy semolina as we did now. I looked up at the honours boards around the dining hall at the name of all the boys who had won scholarships over the years. I looked for Bertie Andrews. He wasn't there. But then I thought, why should he be? Maybe, like me, he wasn't brilliant at his schoolwork. Not everyone wins scholarships. Cookie, Mr. Cook, my history teacher, was sitting beside me at the end of my table. "Who were you looking for, Morpurgo?" he asked suddenly. "Andrews, sir," I said. "Bertie Andrews." Andrews? There's an Albert Andrews who won the Victoria Cross in the First World War. You mean him?" Cookie scraped his bowl clean and licked the back of his spoon. "Oh, I love raspberry jam. You'll find his name in the chapel under the east window, under the War Memorial. But he wasn't killed in the war, you know. He lived down at Strawbridge, that place with the lion on the gate, just across the main road. He died, maybe 10-12 years ago, soon after I came to teach here. The only old boy ever to win the VC. That's why they put up a memorial plaque to him in the chapel after he died. I remember the day his wife came to unveil it. His widow, I should say. Poor dear, just herself and her dog in that great big place. She died only a few months later. Broken heart, they say. You can die of a broken heart. That house has been empty ever since. No family to take it on. No one wants it, too big. Shame." I said I wanted to be excused, to go to the toilet. I hurtled down the passage, out across the courtyard and into the chapel. The small brass plaque was exactly where Cookie had said it was, but hidden by a vase of flowers. I moved the vase to one side and the plaque read, "Albert Andrews, VC. Born 1897. Died 1968. An old boy of the school." and the lion shall lie down with the lamb. All night long I tried to puzzle it out. Cookie was wrong. He had to be. I never slept a wink. The next afternoon after games were over, I went over the fence at the bottom of the park, hared up through Innocent's Breach, across the road, along the wall, and slipped through the iron gateway with the stone lion roaring above me. It was raining, a light summer rain. I tried knocking on the front door. No one came. No dog barked. I went round to the back and peered through the kitchen window. The box kite was still there on the kitchen table, but there was no sign of the old lady anywhere. I rattled the kitchen door and knocked louder again and again. I called, "Hello, hello!" There was no reply. I banged on the window. "Are you there? Are you there?" "We all are," came a voice from behind me. I turned, but there was no one there. I was alone. Alone with the white lion on the hillside. I had imagined it. I climbed the hill and went to sit on the grass above the white lion's mane. I looked down at the great house beneath me. Jackdaws cawed overhead. There was bracken and grass growing out of the gutters and around the chimney pots. Some of the windows were boarded up. Drain pipes hung loose, rusting. The place was quite empty. The rain suddenly stopped and the sun warmed the back of my neck. The first butterfly landed on my arm. It was blue. "Adonis blues, Adonis blues." The voice again came into my head like an echo. Then the sound around me was filled with butterflies as they were settling to drink on the chalk. Adonis blues, remember? The same voice, a real voice, her voice, and this time I knew it was not in my head. "Keep him white for us, there's a dear. We don't want him forgotten, you see. And think of us sometimes, will you?" "I will," I cried, "I will." And I swear I felt the earth tremble beneath me with the roar of a distant lion. The end. Oh, well, I did enjoy that story. What a beautiful story. And I felt quite tearful at the end. And what a bit of a mystery. So the old lady was a ghost all the time. Didn't see that coming. That was an absolutely beautiful story, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Anyway, as I said earlier, that was the last story before the summer holidays. So Rusty and I would like to say thank you to you all for joining us each week and hopefully enjoying the stories we've been sharing with you. We've certainly enjoyed reading them to you. It's been a highlight of our week. And we hope that you all have brilliant summer holidays and you manage to do lots and lots of fun, brilliant, amazing things. And we really, really hope that come September, we'll hopefully be back at school and see each other again. We'll have to see if we can get Rusty a uniform so he can join school. What do you think? I think he'd like that. Anyway, happy holidays, everybody, and a big bye-bye and lots of love from me and Rusty. Bye.